Hi, everyone. My name is Cheryl Vito. I've been in the pharmaceutical, diagnostics industry, biotech, et cetera, for over 25 years, and I've been writing protocols since the early 1990s. So hopefully I'll impart some information to you that you maybe don't already have at this point. So why don't we get started? We're going to talk today about writing clinical study protocols. You know the course objectives. We're going to talk about the overall structure of the protocol, some of the regulatory requirements, and describe the requirements for a protocol, including establishing an indication, the types of studies that you need to know about, the different study designs, establishing a hypothesis, safety and efficacy, how do you establish them, determining your eligibility criteria, which are primarily your inclusion-exclusion criteria, learning about the schedule of assessments, and adverse event and serious adverse event reporting. So just a few things up front that I sort of like to get out of the way in talking about protocol writing. One thing people don't think about too much is that a protocol is actually a legal document. So, you kind of have to take it seriously when you're writing these things. It's a really important document. It's critical to the development of whatever compound or product you are developing. And the goal of the protocol is really to outline the study plan for whatever clinical investigation you're undertaking. So it has to include a lot of things, like your objectives, which are critical, your design, the methodology, the population, any statistical considerations that are important for people to know, ethical conduct, and the whole organization of the study. And it's designed specifically to answer a specific research question or questions. So when you're writing a protocol, you sort of want to get in the mindset of thinking about what is our hypothesis and what kind of questions do we want to answer based on that. But critical to all protocols and all clinical studies is safeguarding health of subjects, especially in pharma. We'll talk some about devices and diagnostics as we move through, but one of the things we'll learn through this process is even though the device world is very different than the pharma and biotech and biologics world, a lot of the principles are the same when it comes to writing protocols. And that's, I think, one of the most important things to take away from today. So the goal of the protocol and the goal of the course is what are you writing and for whom are you writing it? It's really important to know about your audience. Your audience is key. So the goal of the protocol is to make sure that whoever is in the audience, whatever your end users are, your IRB, your sites, etc., they all have the same takeaway message when they read the protocol. And that's not always easy to do. Everybody's at a different level, perhaps educationally, or they bring a different set of skills to the table. So in order to write a really well-written protocol, you want to make sure that everybody walks away thinking the same thing. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. So it's going to define a process for data collection that answers a question or questions, right? We talked about that already. So it's defining the process ultimately to collect some type of data that is going to help you answer the question that your hypothesis was about in the beginning. So sounds really simple, right? But importantly, you have to know your audience. You have to understand some things about writing basics, and I'm not going to get into very much about writing basics today, but the most critical thing to know about writing is be consistent, and whatever choices you make in your document, be consistent throughout, and preferably through the life cycle of the product as well. It's good to understand the regulatory environment in which you're working, which isn't necessarily just FDA. It could be global authorities. It could be IRBs. There's a whole set of regulations that I'm sure you're aware of that we have to follow, and it's important to keep those things in mind. And in a protocol, it's really important to know what goes where. There are a lot of redundancies in some protocols. Depending on what type of product you're working on, it could be a bigger protocol with a lot more redundancies, like in pharma. In diagnostics or devices, there may not be as many. Combination products are going to have a lot of things that are going to trip you up. So you really need to know what goes where. So let's first talk about the audience, because it really already emphasized that. You have a lot of reviewers that are going to look at your document from whatever perspective, right? You're going to have your internal reviewers and collaborators that are helping you put the protocol together. You may be working with some kind of contracted organization like a CRO or an SMO or some other organization that is going to be running all or part of your study for you. They're going to review the protocol at some point, even if they're just doing it to implement it. The site personnel, this is your ultimate end user right here. The site personnel are critical in knowing what's going on in the study and understanding it. And no matter how many times you go out there to meet with them, if they can't get it from the protocol, you're going to be in trouble because you're not there 24 hours a day doing the process like they are. So it's really important, again, that there's a takeaway message that's the same, not just internally, but each site separately has to have the same takeaway message. Otherwise, your data will be collected differently at different sites, and it's not going to be the homogeneous data collection stuff that you were looking for. Your IRBs, or independent ethics committees, are also going to be reviewing this for approval. And this is where I think it gets the stickiest, because you have a whole different set of circumstances with these review committees. Some of them are lay people that don't have a medical background, so it's important that you write a protocol in a way that's clear for everybody on the IRB to also have the same takeaway message.